Welcome back to IGCSE Science Academy, where science becomes simple, clear, and exam ready. Have you ever wondered why a huge ship floats but a small coin sinks? Watch this video till end to find out the reason. To find out the reason, today we will understand what density is, how to calculate it, and how it is tested in exams. Density compares these two things, mass and volume. Density explains how much mass is packed into a given volume of a substance. Mass is how heavy something is. Volume, how much space it occupies. If a lot of mass is packed into a small volume, the substance has high density. For example, iron, stone, coin. If less mass is separate over a large volume, the substance has low density. For example, wood, sponge, ship. From daily life, we can take some examples. Take two objects of the same size. One is iron, another is wood. Even though their volume is the same, iron is heavier because of higher density and wood is lighter because of lower density. Let's understand what density is, what is mass, and what is volume. First, let's understand about mass. What is mass? Mass is the amount of matter present in an object. It is the amount of matter in an object. It tells us about how heavy something is regardless of where it is. It means mass does not change when you go to different places like Earth or Moon. What is the unit of mass? The unit of mass is gram and kilogram. And how we can measure the mass? We can measure the mass by using a machine which is called balance. What is the function of balance machine? It measures the weight of an object by comparing it to known masses or by using electronic sensors to detect the force of gravity acting on that object. Examples: a stone has more mass than a sponge because it contains more matter. So mass is how heavy something is. This diagram shows mass in density. Mass, the amount of matter in an object. It is paired in grams and kilograms. In this diagram, heavier objects like metal ball have more mass, as you can see. When more mass is packed into the same space, the object has higher density. So this diagram shows high density bricks packed tightly, heavy and compact. Low density balls loosely packed, light and spread out. Here is also the concept of sinks and float. Objects with higher density than water sinks, shown by rocks sinking. Objects with lower density than water floats, shown by the duck floating. This happens because of mass, not just size. So here is a key message in this diagram: more mass in less space, higher density. Even if two objects look similar, the one with more mass will be denser. Mass play a major role in determining density. Density helps explain why some objects sink and others float. Size alone does not decide density, mass and volume together do. Now let's discuss about volume. What is volume? Volume is the amount of space an object occupies. So it is the amount of space that something takes. What is the unit of volume? Unit of volume is cubic centimeter, cubic meter, and liter. How we can measure the volume? By using measuring cylinder for liquids and ruler for regular solids. Here is an example of volume. A balloon has a large volume because it occupies more space. So for liquid, it's how much water or juice you can hold in a cup. For solid, it's how much space an object like box or ball occupies. This diagram explains the role of volume in density by showing that volume is the amount of space an object occupies and is measured in milliliters and cubic centimeter. Here is the formula of density. Density is equal to mass divided by volume. We can calculate density by using this formula, which, which tells us how much mass is present in a given space. Here is a Here is the beaker in the picture, which is 1000 ml, which is equal to 1 liter. This beaker is shown to help students see volume, space, not density by itself. Volume is equal to how much space something takes. Which has more volume? A bigger container or object, more volume. A smaller container or tightly packed object, less volume. In the picture, the beaker 1000 ml, which is equal to 1 liter, shows more volume. The smaller packed block shows less volume. Now look at these two objects in the diagram. Both objects have the same mass, 500 gram, 500 gram. However, one object occupies less space, smaller volume. The other occupies more space, larger volume. When the same mass is packed into a smaller volume, the object becomes more dense. When the same mass separates over larger volume, the objects become less dense. Let's remember this important rule: smaller volume, higher density; larger volume, lower density. So, density does not depend only on mass, it also depends on how much space the mass occupies. Two objects can have the same mass but different densities if their volumes are different. Volume in density: solid, liquid, gas. Solid. Solid has fixed volume. Solids have definite shape and size. Solid is measured in cubic centimeters. Density generally highest because particles are tightly packed. Liquids. Volume. Liquids have definite volume but no fixed shape. It takes the shape of its container. It has less density than most solids but more than gases, slightly affected by temperature. Gas. Volume of gas, no fixed volume, it expands to fill the container. Density is very low because particles are far apart, highly affected by temperature and pressure. So the formula of density is mass divided by volume. Volume is the space an object or substance occupies and is essential for calculating the density. So density, volume and mass is different for solid, liquid and gases. This diagram shows a simple comparison between mass and volume. Mass, measured in a balance unit gram and kilogram, measured with a measuring cylinder units milliliter and liter. Mass, the amount of matter in an object. Volume, the amount of space an object occupies. Now let's discuss about density. Density is mass of a substance in a fixed or defined volume. In simple way, density is a physical property of matter that tells us how much mass is packed into a given volume. Density tells us how heavy or light something is for its size. What is the formula of density? Density is equal to mass divided by volume. Relationship between mass and volume in density. If mass increases in the same volume, density increases. If volume increases with the same mass, density decreases. In simple, volume increases if mass increases for a constant density. Volume decreases if density increases for the same mass. So density depends on both mass and volume. we double the volume of a substance without changing its density, its mass also doubles. If we double the mass but keep density the same, the volume also doubles. Let's understand the idea same mass different volume. Two objects can have the same mass but different volumes. The objects with the smaller volume will have a higher density. It means that the larger volume, smaller density, smaller volume, larger density. Mass is means same amount of stuff. Volume is different means how much space it takes. Bigger volume, smaller density, light for its size. Smaller volume, bigger density, heavier for its size. Here is the another idea, that is same volume, different mass. Two objects may have the same volume but different masses. The object with greater mass will have a higher density. If the volume is the same but mass is different, it means the density is different. More mass means higher density, less mass means lower density. Same volume but density changes because mass is different. For the same volume, the substance with more mass is denser and the one with less mass is less dense. Now let's explain the units of density, gram per cubic centimeter and kilograms per cubic meter. These are units of density. They tell us how much mass is present in a certain volume. First one is gram per cubic centimeter, where G is gram unit of mass, cm3 is cubic centimeter unit of volume. This is a unit of density used for solids and liquids, meaning how many grams of mass are present in 1 cubic centimeter of a substance. Usually used for small objects, solid and liquids and laboratory. Example, if the density of iron is 7.8 gram per cubic centimeter, it means 1 cubic centimeter of iron has a mass of 7.8 gram. Kilogram per cubic meter. This is another unit of density used more in gases and engineering, where kg is kilogram unit of mass, m3 is cubic meter unit of volume, meaning how many kilograms of mass are present in 1 cubic meter of a substance. Usually used for large objects, gases and real-life materials like air, water, buildings. Example, if the density of air is 1.2 kilogram per cubic meter, it means 1 cubic meter of air has a mass of 1.2 kilogram. Here is a question, why do we use different units? Let's explain it simply. We use different units because it makes the number easy to read and work with, depending on the size of the object and the type of substances. Type of substance, solids and liquids usually measure in grams per cubic centimeter. Gases in large quantities measure in kilograms per cubic meter. Small volumes, gram per cubic centimeter, large volumes, kilogram per cubic meter. Both units measure the same concept density, only the scale changes. So using the right units make the numbers easy to read. Small things, gram per cubic centimeter, large things, kilogram per cubic meter. A real life example, a stone and a sponge may look similar in size as you can see in the picture. The stone is denser because it has more mass in the same volume. As we know that the stone is denser because it has more mass than the sponge. But the volume of both sponge and the stone is same. Due to its mass, the density of stone is higher as compared to the density of sponge. Let's summarize today's topic with the help of this diagram. Understanding density. What is density? Density is how much mass is packed into a given volume. What is mass? Mass of amount of matter. Mass tells us how heavy an object is. What is volume? Amount of space. How much a matter occupies a space, how big it is. So what is the formula of density? Density is mass divided by volume. By using this formula, we can calculate the density. So here is an image for more dense, more mass in the same volume. More mass in the same volume, less mass in larger volume. So here is the less dense, less mass in the larger volume. Same size, different mass. As you can see the picture, heavy rock and light sponge. So obviously the rock has the more density due to its mass, and the sponge has lighter weight due to its mass. But both of these objects has the same size and same volume. Due to its mass, the rock is heavier than the sponge. So here are another example, another pictures of the same sizes, small cube and big balloon, same mass, different volume, but the small cube has the more density as compared to the big balloon. Dense objects feel heavier, high density, loads of mass in little space, low density, small mass in big space. Here are some key points to remember. Density shows how compact matter is. It means how closely the particles of a substance are packed together. It links mass and volume together. The units of the densities gram per cubic centimeter and kilogram per cubic meter. Here is the question which we have discussed in the beginning. Have you ever wondered why a huge ship floats but a small coin sinks? And the answer is the huge ship floats while a small coin sinks because of density and buoyancy. The picture shows a large ship floating on the surface of water, but a small coin is sinking to the bottom. Although the ship is very heavy, it floats because its average density is lower than the density of water. The ship displaces a large volume of water and experiences an upward force called buoyancy, which helps it float. On the other hand, the coin is very small but much denser. It displaces very little water, so the buoyant force acting on it not enough to support its weight, and therefore it sinks. At the first, this seems confusing because the ship is much heavier than the coin. However, floating and sinking do not depend only on weight. As we have already discussed density, I hope you understand that the ship has a lower average density than water, which helps it float. We will discuss buoyancy in detail in the next video and understand how this upward force works. Now it's your turn. Please write your answer in the comment box. If two objects have the same mass, which one will have higher density? The one with smaller volume or larger volume? Think about the formula of density. Density is equal to mass divided by volume. Take a moment, apply the concept we have just discussed, and then write your answer in the comment. We will discuss the correct answer in the next part. This is all for today. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and stay connected for more videos on IGCSE Science Academy. See you in the next lesson.